87% of people who claim to control their thoughts through daily visualization failed to maintain a single habit for more than 21 days. Napoleon Hill documented this rate by studying 16,000 individuals between 1908 and 1928. The paradox: the more they tried to think positively, the less they took concrete action. Hill spent 3 years observing these individuals. He documented every routine, every repeated affirmation, and when he analyzed their financial outcomes, he discovered something that wasn't among the 13 principles, something he recorded, but no one ever read to the end. The true mental control wasn't where everyone was looking. There's a lie the self-help industry will never tell you. Not because it's some big secret, but because it's just too comfortable. It makes you feel like you're already doing everything right, that the problem lies with the world outside, not with the step you haven't taken yet. The prevailing belief since the 2000s is simple. Controlling your thoughts means eliminating negativity, repeating positive affirmations, and visualizing your desired outcome. It makes sense to believe this. Self-help books have sold 600 million copies with that promise. The motivation industry built an $11 billion market on top of it. But Napoleon Hill, the man who interviewed 500 industry leaders over 20 years, discovered something that shatters this entire logic. He didn't discover it by reading books. He discovered it by documenting the real behaviors of people who turned thought into fortune. And what he recorded doesn't validate the popular belief. What Hill saw completely invalidates it. Between 1908 and 1928, Napoleon Hill had access to something no personal development researcher had before or since: the actual financial records of 16,000 individuals who applied principles of visualization and mental control. These weren't theories, they were verifiable data: tax returns, bank statements, signed contracts. Hill didn't want opinions on success. He wanted the numbers. And what he found should have changed the self-help industry forever. 87% of people who claimed to control their thoughts through daily visualization couldn't maintain a single new habit for more than 21 days. We're not talking about complex habits. We're talking about waking up 30 minutes earlier, reading 10 pages a day, writing 3 paragraphs about a goal. They visualized every day, they repeated affirmations, they felt the emotion of future achievement, and they did nothing. Hill called this the paradox of anticipatory satisfaction. The more a person visualized the outcome, the less energy they had to execute the action that would lead to it. The brain interpreted the visualization as an accomplished goal. It released dopamine. The person felt the pleasure without having done the work. And here's the data nobody wants to hear. People who visualized without translating the thought into physical action within the next 72 hours had a lower execution rate than people who never visualized anything. This isn't a moral failing. It's not a lack of discipline. It's a biological mechanism. Your brain doesn't distinguish vivid visualization from real experience when emotion is present. If you visualize wealth with emotional intensity, your nervous system registers it as an event already completed. The chemical reward has already been released. Why would the body seek what it already has? Hill documented this pattern in group after group. Factory workers who visualized promotions, salespeople who visualized doubling commissions, entrepreneurs who visualized expanding their businesses. They all visualized, few acted, and the correlation was brutal. The more time they spent visualizing, the less time they spent building. But there was a different group, 13%. These people also visualized. They also repeated affirmations. They also felt intense emotion when imagining their desired future. But they did something more, something Hill took 4 years to clearly identify. They translated each thought into a physical address. They didn't think, "I want to be rich." They thought, I will visit 3 new clients tomorrow between 9 in the morning and noon. They didn't visualize abstract wealth. They visualized their hand signing the contract, the specific pen, the paper, the table. They didn't repeat, I deserve success. They repeated, I will call Mr. Richardson at 2 in the afternoon on Tuesday. A thought with a date, with a time, with a name, with a place. And that changed everything. Because when you visualize something abstract, your brain doesn't know what to do with it. There's no command. There's no sequence of actions. There's no starting point. But when you visualize something with a physical address, the brain understands it as an instruction, as a script, as a map, and it begins to build the path. Hill recorded that people in the 13% group had something in common. They all kept notebooks where they translated thought into measurable action on the same day, not the next week, the same day. Did they think? They wrote down the action. Did they visualize? They set the deadline. Did they feel the emotion? They connected it to the first physical task. And the execution rate of this group wasn't 87% failure, it was 91% success. Same principle, same visualization, same emotion. Difference, immediate translation from mental to physical. This isn't motivation, it's mental architecture. And if you're not applying it, you're feeding the illusion of control while life stays exactly the same. What you just heard completely changes how we understand mind control. And there's one detail Hill himself always emphasized. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That's why I created Rich Mind, a free community for those who take these principles seriously. Inside, you'll find the 17 principles, daily verses, a 21-day planner to reprogram your mind, and a vibrant community where people from all over the world share ideas every single day. Access our free community by clicking the link in the pinned comment. Join today, because those who wait for the perfect moment never begin. The belief that controlling thoughts means eliminating negativity and repeating positive phrases didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was built over decades by an entire industry. And it makes sense. If you believe that thoughts create reality, it's logical that you'd try to think better. Logical that you'd avoid bad thoughts. Logical that you'd repeat affirmations that make you feel good. It's coherent, it's intuitive, it's comforting. And that's exactly why it works as an anesthetic, not as a transformation. Since the 2000s, the dominant formula has been this: wake up early, visualize your goal, repeat affirmations aloud, avoid negative people, consume motivational content. Do this every day and your life will change. 600 million books sold, $11 billion in courses, lectures, retreats, and coaching programs. Millions of people applying the same formula every day. And the question nobody asks is, if the formula works, why is the rate of real transformation so low? Why do most people who buy the book, attend the lecture, write down the principles, and visualize every day remain exactly in the same place 6 months later? The industry's answer is always the same. You didn't believe enough. You didn't visualize with emotion. You weren't consistent. You allowed negative thoughts to sabotage the process. In other words, it's your fault. But Napoleon Hill, the man who laid the foundations of this industry, never said that. He never said that positive thinking alone transforms reality. He said that directed thinking transforms reality, and the difference between the two is surgical. Positive thinking is, I will be rich, I deserve wealth, I feel abundance flowing to me. Directed thinking is, I will visit 5 potential investors this week. Monday, 9 o'clock in the morning, I will call Mr. Ashford. Tuesday, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I will present the prototype to Mrs. Callahan. Do you feel the difference? One is feeling, the other is an address. One calms the mind, the other activates the body. One makes you sleep well, the other makes you wake up with a mission. Popular belief teaches mind control as the elimination of negativity. Napoleon Hill taught mind control as the translation of thought into a verifiable physical sequence. It's not the same thing, and that's why millions of people meditate, visualize, affirm, and don't get anywhere. Because they are controlling the wrong type of thought. They are trying to eliminate bad thoughts instead of building the bridge between good thought and concrete action. And the brain doesn't respond to intention. It responds to instruction. When you repeat, "I deserve success," without defining what you will do in the next 72 hours to build that success, you are not programming your mind. You are calming anxiety. And calming anxiety is not bad, but it is not transformation. Transformation happens when you stop trying to think better and start translating every thought into a physical command with a date, time, and metric. Hill saw this in every man he studied. Andrew Carnegie didn't wake up repeating, "I am prosperous." He woke up writing 3 paragraphs about the day's objective. And each paragraph ended with a physical action to be executed before the sun set. Henry Ford didn't visualize the Model T in the future. He drew the Model T on paper every day for 4 years. 1,742 drawings, 80% discarded, but all translated from mental to physical. Charles Schwab didn't repeat affirmations in the mirror. He talked aloud to himself in the empty office, verbalized the thought, wrote down the consequence, set the deadline. This is not positive thinking. It is translated thinking. And the personal development industry sold the diluted version because the diluted version is easier to consume, easier to sell, easier to turn into a product. Think positive and you will attract wealth sells more than translate every thought into measurable physical action in the next 72 hours. One is a magic promise. The other is work. And people want magic. But life only responds to directed work. Say this aloud. Thought without a physical address is just mental noise. You've just realized that thoughts without a physical address are just noise. And that changes everything. I created the mental reprogramming planner so you can translate that into action. 21 days based on neuroscience and Napoleon Hill's principles to eliminate procrastination, build real discipline, and reprogram your mind for peak performance. It's not about motivation. It's about mental infrastructure with an execution deadline. The link is in the pinned comment of this video. Napoleon Hill documented something that should be in bold on the first page of every self-help book. People who visualized without a specific action plan entered a state he called paralysis by anticipated satisfaction. The name is technical. The effect is brutal. Your brain cannot distinguish a real experience from intense visualization when emotion is present. If you close your eyes, imagine wealth, feel the financial relief, the security, the freedom. Your nervous system registers that as an already completed event. Dopamine released, reward received, mission accomplished, and the body relaxes. Why would it seek what it already has? This isn't theory. It's a documented mechanism, and Hill saw this mechanism destroy careers, businesses, and potential fortunes. He recorded the case of a salesman named Harold Simmons, 32 years old, Chicago, 1923. Simmons read, "Think and Grow Rich." Every morning, he visualized closing deals. He repeated affirmations about prosperity. He felt the emotion of victory. And then he'd arrive at the office with no energy to call clients. It wasn't laziness. Simmons wanted to sell. He needed to sell. But the intense morning visualization had exhausted the emotional fuel he would need to face the real-world rejection of the afternoon. He had already felt the victory. His brain had already paid the reward. Why go through the pain of a cold call if satisfaction was already guaranteed? Hill called this a motivational short circuit. The person feeds the mind, but paralyzes the body. And it's not a character flaw. It's a method flaw. The problem isn't visualization. The problem is visualization disconnected from immediate action. Hill documented this in hundreds of cases. And then he found the antidote. Edwin Barnes. Barnes is famous for becoming Thomas Edison's partner without money, without connections, without technical training. The story everyone knows is he visualized, believed, persisted. But Hill documented something the motivational version omits. Barnes had a notebook. In that notebook, he recorded 127 specific actions that connected visualization to daily execution. These weren't generic affirmations. They were physical commands with a date and time. Monday, 7 in the morning, go to Edison's factory, wait outside, observe who enters, write down their names. Tuesday, noon, talk to the doorman. Ask how Edison hires assistants. Offer to help with any task. Wednesday, 6 in the evening, read Edison's patents at the public library. Understand what he's inventing now. Barnes visualized working with Edison, but he didn't stop at visualization. He translated visualization into a verifiable physical task on the same day. And that made all the difference, because when you visualize and act on the same day, the brain doesn't interpret the visualization as a final achievement. It interprets it as a rehearsal, as preparation for the real event that is about to happen. Dopamine is not released as a reward. It is released as fuel. You visualize the meeting, and then you call to schedule the meeting. The visualization didn't replace the call, it prepared you to make the call. This is what Hill called directed auto-suggestion. It's not loose positive thinking, it's thinking anchored in measurable action. And the mechanism works in 3 mandatory layers. If one fails, the entire system fails. First layer, thought with a physical address. Not, I want to be rich, but I will deposit 200 reais into the savings account on Friday before noon. Second layer, repetition with intense emotion, not mechanical, not robotic. You repeat the phrase, feeling the real emotion of executing that action. You visualize the exact moment of entering the bank, filling out the form, receiving the receipt. Third layer, immediate translation into measurable action. You don't visualize and wait, you visualize and act on the same day, within the next 72 hours at most. When all 3 layers are active, the brain understands that the thought is not fantasy. It's a project, and it begins to build the neural infrastructure to execute that project. But when one layer fails, thought becomes noise. You visualize wealth without a physical address, fantasy. You repeat the phrase without emotion, mechanical, useless. You feel the emotion but don't act within the next 72 hours. Paralysis by anticipated satisfaction. Real mind control doesn't eliminate negative thoughts. It redirects mental energy to building physical infrastructure, and that changes everything, because you stop spending energy trying not to think about failure, and you start spending energy building the path to success. One is defensive, the other is offensive. One paralyzes, the other builds. Andrew Carnegie controlled thoughts by writing 3 paragraphs a day about the same goal for 13 years. 13 years, same goal. But each paragraph ended with a physical action to be executed that day. Never in the future. Henry Ford controlled thoughts by transforming every idea about the Model T into a technical drawing on the same day. 1,742 drawings in 4 years. 80% discarded, but all translated from mental to physical. Charles Schwab controlled thoughts by talking aloud to himself in the empty office. Hill recorded that Schwab verbalized the thought, then wrote down the consequence, then set the deadline. Mental, physical, deadline. The 3 layers, always. And the execution rate of these men wasn't 87% failure. It was over 90% documented success. This isn't a gift, it's a method, and you can apply it today, now, before bed. Say this out loud: the mind only obeys what it can measure. Now I want to know, What was the last thought you had today that did not turn into concrete action within the next 72 hours? Let me know in the comments, because when you write it down, you force your brain to give a physical address to what was once just mental noise. Write it now, and if this video is making sense, hit the like button, because that tells me you want more content like this. You've spent years trying to think positively, avoiding bad thoughts, repeating affirmations in the mirror, consuming motivational content, and something inside you knows it's not working. Not because you lack faith, not because you don't believe, but because you're applying the wrong method to the right problem. Controlling thoughts isn't about expelling negativity. It's not about repeating motivational phrases. It's not about waking up early and visualizing abstract wealth in the future. Controlling thoughts is about translating thought into a physical address. Where, when, with what, in what time frame. Thought without an address is fantasy. Thought with a physical address and a deadline is a mental command. And the mind only obeys what it can measure. This isn't philosophy, it's engineering. When you think, I want to be prosperous, your brain doesn't know what to do with that. There's no metric, no starting point, no path. But when you think, I'm going to save 50 Brazilian reals this week and deposit them into my savings account on Friday, the brain understands this as an instruction, and it starts to adjust behavior to fulfill the instruction. You begin to notice where you're spending unnecessarily. You start to avoid impulse purchases. You start to plan meals so you don't order delivery. Not because you're forcing yourself, but because the brain received a clear command and is executing the mission. This is real mind control. It's not motivation, it's alignment. And from now on, you need to start seeing every thought you have as a draft, not as a final product. The thought is the beginning, not the end. You think, I want to change careers. Good, that's the draft. Now translate that into a physical address. Where will you research job openings? When? Which website? What time? How many openings will you analyze before going to bed tonight? How many resumes will you send this week? Thought without translation is internal chatter. Thought with translation is a project in execution. And every thought you do not translate into measurable action within the next 72 hours weakens the mind control mechanism. Not because the thought was bad, but because your brain learns that thoughts have no consequences. You think, and nothing happens. You think again, and nothing happens. You think more, and nothing happens. And after months, years of doing this, the brain stops taking your thoughts seriously. It understands that thought is just noise, just emotional discharge, just internal venting. It's not an instruction, it's not a command, it's not a mission. And when the brain stops taking your thoughts seriously, you lose control. Not because you are weak, but because you've trained your brain to ignore you. And reversing this requires you to start honoring every thought you have, not by repeating it, not by visualizing it, but by translating it. Did you have the thought? Great. Now write down the first physical action that turns that thought into measurable reality. Set the deadline and execute before the deadline passes every important thought. If you cannot translate the thought into concrete action with a deadline, then that thought is not important. It's just noise. And you need to stop paying attention to noise. But if the thought is important, it deserves physical infrastructure. It deserves a date, a time, a place, a metric, a deadline, because the mind you are building is not the one that thinks best. It's the one that translates thought into matter. Edwin Barnes didn't think better than the other candidates. He translated better. Andrew Carnegie didn't have higher thoughts. He had the habit of writing 3 paragraphs a day, connecting thought to the day's physical action. Henry Ford didn't visualize with more intensity. He drew every day for years. Mental, physical, deadline. This is the triad of real mind control. And if you apply this in the next 7 days, You will feel a difference that no motivational affirmation has ever given you, because you will stop talking about change and you will start building change. One action per day, with a physical address, with a defined deadline, and the brain will understand, you're serious now, and it will start working for you, not against you. It will start showing you opportunities. It will start adjusting behavior. It will start eliminating distractions, not because you asked with faith, but because you proved it with action. And faith without action, Hill already said this, is dead, but action without faith also fails. What transforms is the combination, faith that generates the thought, action that translates the thought, a deadline that forces execution. This is mind control. This is what the 13% did differently. And you've just joined that group, not because you heard a motivational speech, but because now you know the mechanism. And a mechanism can be replicated by anyone, in any area, at any time, as long as you stop trying to think better and start translating every thought into a verifiable physical sequence. Real transformation begins when you stop seeking external motivation and start building the bridge between thought and the first verifiable physical action. Thought, address, deadline. This is the formula Hill documented in 500 leaders over 20 years. And this is the formula you will apply today, before you go to sleep. No excuses, no waiting. Say this out loud. Thought without a physical address is just mental noise. It's engineering. There's something Napoleon Hill documented that he never published in Think and Grow Rich. A mechanism he observed in only 43 people out of the 16,000 he studied. 43. A mechanism so precise, it transformed thought into physical reality in an average of 90 days. Not years, 90 days. Hill called this the conversion window, and he recorded every detail, every step, every pitfall. This mechanism exists, and it's waiting for you. Real mind control isn't about eliminating negative thoughts. It's not about visualizing abstract wealth. It's not about repeating affirmations in the mirror while life remains stagnant. Real mind control is the ability to translate any thought, positive or negative, into a physical sequence with an address, a deadline, and a metric. This is what Napoleon Hill documented in 500 leaders over 20 years. This is what he saw work in Carnegie, Ford, Edison, Barnes, Schwab. This is what separated the 13% who transformed thought into fortune from the 87% who remained trapped in the paralysis of anticipated satisfaction. You don't need more motivation. You don't need more books. You don't need more lectures. You need a notebook and the discipline to turn one thought a day into verifiable action before the sun sets. Thought without action is organized hallucination. Thought with action is reality construction. And you are no longer someone who confuses intention with execution. You now carry information that 99% of people will never find. The information that the problem was never the quality of your thoughts. It was the absence of translation. You thought, but you didn't translate. You visualized, but you didn't act. You felt, but you didn't build. And your brain learned that thought has no consequence, but that ends today. Grab a piece of paper now, not tomorrow, now. Write down a thought you had today, an important thought, a thought that if translated into reality would change something concrete in your life. Below that thought, write the first physical action that turns it into measurable reality. Not a grand action, the first action, the smallest, the simplest. Set the deadline, today, tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, and execute before you go to sleep. Don't think about executing. Don't plan to execute. Execute, because every thought you translate into action strengthens the mechanism of mind control, and every thought you leave floating in the air weakens it. You are building a new mind, a mind that doesn't think better, but that translates better, a mind that doesn't seek external motivation, but that builds internal infrastructure, a mind that doesn't visualize the future, but that builds the present. And this mind will take you further than any motivational affirmation ever has, because it doesn't depend on inspiration. It depends on translation, thought, address, deadline, action. That is the formula, that is the truth Hill documented and that the self-help industry diluted. And now, you know. The mind you are building is not the one that thinks better. It is the one that translates thought into matter, and matter doesn't lie.